Yiwu International Market in China is crazily insane in its size. But I think what nobody says enough is how it can also ruin your sourcing. So in this video, I'm going to take you with me as I take my clients on a sourcing procurement trip in Yiwu. I'll be showing you why it's not such the best idea to source at Yiwu for every project. If you're just finding this video for the first time, I'm Jidefor and I'm a procurement and sourcing agent. I've been working in this industry for the past 15 years. I lived in China at a certain time. I studied in China and I worked in China. I speak the language and I always go back to China to source products. I help my clients through my company called GoBuyHub to source products and to connect with the Chinese manufacturing industry and other procurement industries around the world. I'm currently based in Canada, but I'm a Nigerian, Canadian. I work across different countries. So on a regular basis, on a daily basis, I'm working with Canada, Nigeria, the USA, and China. If you want to learn more about procurement and sourcing, if you want to know how it goes with shopping in China, if you want to avoid mistakes, then stay tuned and watch this clip and you'll learn from a real-time procurement agent about how sourcing and global trade happen. So on the first day, myself, my local assistant, and my two clients head down to Yiwu Market to start our shopping. One thing I'd like you to know is that Yiwu Market is only known for selling products in wholesale quantities. They call them the small wholesale. So they say B to little b. B to B means business to business, but in Yiwu they say B to little b. So, like micro, right? But still, what it means is that in Yiwu Market, products are still sold only in a minimum quantity of at least 1 carton. Inside that carton might be 12, might be 24, just depends on the product and how the supplier packs it. So now this is why Yiwu might not be the best solution for you if you're looking to buy products in bits, pieces, like we say. On this particular trip, it wasn't the best solution for myself and my client because my clients are just furnishing their personal family house. So they don't need to buy, 1 carton of blades, 1 dozen of cups, 1 dozen of spoons and things like that. But all the same, we went to Yiwu feeling that maybe we would find some suppliers who would be willing to sell in pieces, but we didn't. However, what you would find is that you might find some suppliers who would have some clearance sales they are willing to sell in bits. But it's such a huge market that just making that move to go find suppliers who want to sell in bits doesn't make a lot of sense. So guess what we did? We reverted to buying things online. And now, this is where it gets interesting. I had told my clients that we needed to buy these things online. When you don't understand the way the Chinese industry functions, you tend to think that everything is still done, offline and in person. But interestingly, in China right now, especially when you're buying things on a consumer level, right? Everything is done online. Even for the same B to B, B to little b, you can do offline, you can do online as well. So at the end of the day, we had to still buy all those products that we went to look for in Yiwu Market online. And then we went to Guangzhou to now buy the bigger things like the furniture and the electrical appliances. So this is the key. Going to Yiwu Market just to buy products individually in little quantities might not be the best for you if your project is a personal project. But if you have, you're buying for your store, you're buying as a business owner, you're going to resell the things, Yiwu is perfect. Just know that you need to buy a minimum of at least 1 carton. Whatever, the number of pieces in that carton would depend on the supplier and what type of product it is. So this is the key takeaway from our trip to Yiwu Market. Something else to know about the Yiwu Market, the food court might not be to your taste. So this was some other bad choice that we made on that day, was going to the food court. As you can see from the faces of my clients, they're like, It was at that point, they were both having food culture shock. And I would admit that, yes, when I looked at it, I'm like, no, I'm sure that they wouldn't even get through with the food at the Yiwu Market. I mean, as a local, as somebody who is already used to China, you might not necessarily mind. But for someone who just arrived in China, not even up to 24 hours ago, they were still, very, very, very not accustomed to the kind of food that there was there. So the food court in Yiwu Market, I don't recommend. We finally went and had, delicious meals, all around Yiwu, but just not in the food court. Finally, we continued our trip. We went to at least 3 other cities Henan, Beijing, and Guangzhou. In Henan, we went visiting, some factories for some products, agricultural products. And in Beijing, I insisted that they have to see Beijing so that they understand how China, functions. Because I know that when some people come to China for business, they usually just end up, in Guangzhou. And when they leave Guangzhou, they're like, oh, I went to China, and they just have that impression about China from what they saw in Guangzhou. But having lived in China, I lived in Beijing at some point, and I integrated a lot into the culture. For me, I think it's important that when you go for business, you also put in some time to travel the place and, partake in the culture and see what other parts of the country looks like, so that gives you a more rounded view of what that country is all about and what the people and the culture mean. So we stopped by in Beijing for one night, and after Beijing, we headed off to Guangzhou, where we spent the most of our time. And in Guangzhou, by the time I take you to Guangzhou with me, you'll be seeing, our trips in Foshan, our trips in Guangzhou, and you'll see us going to, buy furniture, and you'll be seeing all the other parts of this trip. So stay tuned for the next one, and I'll be dropping an episode in a week, and I hope that you enjoy it. If you've not followed my channel and you want to see more of what I'm doing, just that subscribe button and stay tuned, and I'll be sharing more updates with you. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, bye.